Are Canadian housing prices finally under attack? Are governments finally doing policies that are going to make Canadian housing prices less crazy? Well, in this video, we're going to look at a Better Dwelling report, which addresses exactly that. BMO says that we are actually going to see a whole bunch of policies that are going to attack Canadian housing prices. And make sure you stay until the end, because I'm going to tell you whether or not, if you're a seller, it's still a good time to sell. So let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvanandan and I'm an agent and investor here in Toronto in the GTA. If this is your first time to the channel, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about real estate, feel free to reach out, call, text, email, or WhatsApp, or make an appointment with us. The link is down below. We love talking about Toronto real estate and we're happy to help you out. So let's take a look at this Better Dwelling report and see exactly what BMO is saying when it comes to attacks on Canadian housing prices and exactly what governments are doing to try and calm down the market. So let's go directly to the report. Okay, so this is the Better Dwelling report. It's Canadian real estate is about to experience a full-scale attack, warns Big Six Bank, which is the Bank of Montreal. So what it's saying is a couple of things. First of all, Canadian real estate, as we all know, is it's an overdrive. And so what governments across the board are trying to do is trying to do things to mitigate that. And they're bringing in a lot of policies that they're hoping will calm the market down. And so what this report is saying is Canadian real estate prices are approaching a mile-long stretch of hurdles. Easy credit conditions are being rapidly reversed and then some, according to BMO. So the bank warns that there is a laundry list of measures designed to cool the market, all hitting at once, and they're going to have impact. Now, they're not going to have the same impact as, say, just interest rate hikes, because that can have a significant impact, but they're going to have a bunch of impacts because all of them combined with the interest rate hike is definitely going to make a difference in this market. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. This is a good thing. It's a good thing for buyers, obviously, because it's going to cool the market down. But it's going to bring the market into a more balanced market, which is a good thing across the board, because we are still at historic lows for inventory. So sellers are still going to do well, but it's not going to be this madness for buyers. And so there'll just be some sense of normal and a lot more balance to the market. So let's look at exactly what they're saying is driving this. Okay, so the first thing that BMO is saying is mortgage rates are about to surge to their highest rates in years. So, when it comes to housing, mortgage rates play a big part of this. Everybody is saying is the Bank of Canada acted late in trying to curb inflation. And so as a result of that, inflation is now out of control, and Bank of Canada is going to have to do things to try and manage inflation. So what do I mean by inflation? If you don't know, think about things like gas and your groceries, and everything is going up in price. Now, part of that is the fact that our Bank of Canada rate has been at a historic lows at 0.25 for almost 2 years during all of the pandemic. Well, what that created is that cash was basically free. So money was free. And so that created more demand. And with more demand, it put supply pressures on. So everything went up, from housing to groceries to all kinds of other things, building materials. Everything has gone through these massive price increases. So Canada needs to start doing things to try and slow that down. So the first thing that they're going to do is change their overnight rate. So they were at 0.25 for almost 2 years, and then they did their first rate increase by 25 basis points. So they doubled it, so 0.25 to 0.5, and now they're going to do another rate increase in mid-February, and they're expecting that to be 0.5, so they're doubling it again. So what does that mean for you as a consumer? Well, you're both fixed 5-year rates, and you're variable rate is going to be going up. And to put that into perspective, what they're saying here is that by midsummer, they are expecting our variable rate to be at around 3%. Now, for the last 2 years, our variable rate has been sitting around 1%. So that's definitely going to affect buyers because now what you can afford is going to be changed because of these rates. And, as buyer affordability changes, we're going to see an overall mitigation of craziness. Like people won't be able to do the overbidding that they have been doing. And if they can do it, there's going to be a lot fewer people that will be able to do it. So that's one of the biggest things that's happening across the board. And they're saying that this is going to be the first time in a long time that we're going to see rates like this. Now, keep in mind that these rates are still at historic lows. They are just higher than what we've seen over the last 2 years. And you got to remember, look what's happened in the housing market over the last 2 years. We've seen also, even though the rates were at historic lows, the growth rates for real estate and all kinds of other things were at historic highs. So they're definitely related. Okay, so let's look at the next thing. So the next thing that they're going to be doing, or they are doing, is they're going after foreign buyers, particularly when it comes to taxing them on initial purchases, as well as doing higher vacancy taxes. Ontario and BC both have their versions of non-residence taxes. So in Ontario, there was a 15% tax, and it was only in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So what does the Greater Golden Horseshoe mean? It means that it was these cities that basically surrounded Toronto. So you have places like Peterborough and Barrie and Niagara, but it wasn't everywhere. And so these are the cities that had the 15% foreign buyers tax, and that went into play in 2017. So now what they're doing with the foreign buyers tax is they're expanding it to all of Ontario. So remember, places like Windsor or Ottawa, which have both seen substantial growth, they weren't hit by the foreign buyers tax. So now everywhere in Ontario will have a foreign buyers tax, but they're also increasing the foreign buyers tax from 15% to 20%. So we'll see if that mitigates foreign buyers. So it'll definitely affect people because, when you're talking about a 20% added onto your purchase and it's going to go across the board, you can't just say, oh, you know what, I was going to buy in Barrie, but that has that tax, so I'll just go and buy in Ottawa. You can't do that anymore. So we'll see if that makes a difference, but that's definitely happening. And what's interesting is BC and Ontario already had this tax. They're just increasing it and expanding it to more areas, but other provinces didn't. And now you have Nova Scotia bringing in a tax too. Now theirs is only 5%, but they're looking at another annual tax that they would give to those foreign buyers. And then we also have a vacancy tax. So a vacancy tax is a tax that they put on properties that are vacant. And there's debate on what that means, and there's loopholes around it, but the government is definitely trying to attack vacancy as well. Because the problem is when housing goes crazy, it doesn't just affect buyers and sellers, it also affects renters. So if people are buying houses and they're leaving them empty, then that affects the overall housing availability, and it also affects rentals in a big deal. So my neighborhood in 2017, when there was a run-up of prices, there was a lot of foreign buyers that bought in my neighborhood. And then what ended up happening is that these houses would sit empty. Well, see, this is the issue with that, is that, we were all thrilled that our prices went up so high. But then when a house sits empty, unless the buyer is really good at taking care of that house, what you find is that there isn't the same care and attention made to an empty house as if somebody is living there. So it does make a difference, and I think that's what they're trying to tackle with the vacancy tax. So definitely a couple of things that are going after foreign buyers that they're trying to mitigate prices there as well. So that's that. So let's just do a summary then. So the last thing I'll say is both the provincial government and the federal government are making announcements on housing and how they are going to address prices that are out of control. Now, both the provincial government and the federal government are worried about votes. So this is going to become a hot topic because consumers are talking about this a lot. So on this week, actually, the federal government is going to be doing their annual budget. So I'm sure we're going to see some things in that. For sure, the provincial government, with an election coming up, they're going to address it as well. So I think what you're going to see is over the next few months, you're going to see a lot of things that are being talked about that are going to address housing affordability as a whole in Ontario and in Canada. And so, like I said, I haven't read anything where people think that there's going to be this huge crash. You have to remember, even if prices go down by, like, say 20%, that's going to be going back to 2021 levels. It's not like we're going to go and, kill the market and it's going to go down massively. What we're going to see is that there's going to be more inventory, which is great. And we're also going to see much more balance when it comes to prices and bidding wars and things like that. For sure, there's still going to be some properties that are going to go nuts. But what we're seeing now, and we're seeing it across the board, people aren't bidding on the offer dates. Then those homes are being relisted at what the sellers actually want. And then you're getting, pricing that matches what the actual price that the sellers want and what the market is saying the house is worth. What is not happening as much anymore is, a house will be worth $1 million, but some buyer comes in and bids $1.2 million because they really wanted, even though every other house on that street was worth $1 million. So I think that's what's going to stop. And we're just going to get to a much more balanced space. And it's still going to be good for sellers because we're still low on inventory when it comes to selling. And it's going to be good for buyers because, things are going to go closer to market value and not crazy prices. Hey everybody, so I am doing a quick addendum to this video because the Canadian government just announced some changes and I want you to know about them. I'm going to go through the highlights right now, but in my next video, I'm going to go into details of each one of these points. So there's 5 things that I'm going to talk about. The first is they introduced a first-time home buyers tax-free savings account for up to $40,000, which is great news. Number 2, they are banning foreign buyers. Whether you're an entity or an individual, you are not going to be able to buy Canadian property for 2 years. Number 3, they are saying they are going to enforce the flipping capital gains. So what that means is right now we have a law where if you buy a property and you flip it within a year, even if it is a primary residence, if they believe that you were doing it as a flip, then you would be responsible for the capital gains. The 4th thing is that they are thinking of a buyer's bill of rights. Now, this is just talk, not legislation, but a buyer's bill of rights would have things like inspection included or no blind bidding. So they are looking at that. And then the 5th and final thing that they're going to do is they are dedicating $10 billion to putting shovels in the ground for housing. So increasing the housing stock, $10 billion. So those are the 5 things. I'm going to talk about all of them in detail in the next video. Thanks. That's it. I hope you found the video helpful. Again, my name is Connie Sarvanandan. I'm a real estate agent and investor here in Toronto and the GTA. If you have any questions about Toronto, the GTA, housing, feel free to call, text, email, or WhatsApp, or make an appointment with us. The link is down below. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.